Empty houses hum with a different kind of life, a subtle vibration that settles into the dust motes dancing in sunbeams. Mine had become attuned to the rhythmic pulse of the grandfather clock in the hall, its steady tick, a former comfort now a stark metronome counting the seconds of a life adrift. 3 years since Richard's laughter faded from these rooms, and the silence still pressed in, a tangible weight on my skin, especially on days when the memories felt sharper. That particular Tuesday, the late afternoon sun sliced through the Venetian blinds, casting stark, geometric shadows across the worn Persian rug in the living room, prison bars of light. My Earl Grey, steeped too long, had surrendered its warmth, the porcelain cup cool against my fingertips. My children, once vibrant echoes in this house, were now scattered across the map, each a distant star in my quiet constellation. At 62, I had navigated the gentle currents of widowhood in our familiar suburban landscape, the solace of my garden, the murmured discussions of book club, the well-intentioned but ultimately insufficient warmth of phone calls. Then, the familiar low growl of Carol Harrison's SUV purred to a stop next door. A signal. Liam was here, their son. Late 20s, a software engineer exiled to the rainy embrace of Seattle. I'd witnessed his fleeting appearances during holidays over the years, a polite nod here, a quiet observation there, always seemingly enveloped in the intricate landscapes of his own mind. The kind of young man whose very presence served as a subtle reminder of time's relentless march, a blur of years unnoticed. The neighborhood potluck that evening held no allure. What was the point? The forced pleasantries, the lukewarm potato salad, the inevitable return to the echoing silence of my own home. Yet, an unexpected tug persisted, perhaps the sheer density of the afternoon solitude, or a primal yearning for the messy, overlapping cadence of human voices that didn't emanate from a speakerphone. So, I found myself there. The park throbbed with the chaotic energy of a summer evening. Children shrieked with unrestrained joy as they soared on swings, a chorus punctuated by the low hum of parental gossip, the air thick with the cloying sweetness of barbecue smoke battling the sharp chemical scent of bug spray. I gravitated towards the quiet periphery, finding refuge beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient oak, a silent observer of the boisterous scene. And then, a shadow fell across my small patch of relative peace. Mind if I join you? Everywhere else seems pretty packed. It was Liam, Carol's Liam. He balanced a precarious tower of potluck fare on a paper plate, a simple gray t-shirt stretching across shoulders that seemed unexpectedly broad, a subtle transformation from the gangly teenager I vaguely recalled. When had Carol's boy shed his awkwardness and grown into this quietly substantial man? Not at all, I replied, shifting my lightweight folding chair slightly. Plenty of room under this old sentinel. We settled into a comfortable, unspoken truce, 2 islands of quiet amidst the cheerful pandemonium. I found myself noticing the details, his hands, long-fingered and clean, the kind that looked equally adept at navigating complex code or perhaps coaxing melodies from a guitar. He caught my gaze, and a faint flush crept up his neck as he tucked them self-consciously beneath his thighs. "Your mom's macaroni and cheese is legendary," I offered, breaking the silence with a familiar touchstone. He laughed, a surprisingly rich and genuine sound, low and resonant. "Yeah, she guards that recipe like it's a state secret entrusted only to her. I've been trying to extract it from her vault for years, no luck." "Some secrets are best kept," I murmured, a small smile playing on my lips. "Adds to the mystique, wouldn't you say?" "So, you're Sarah, right?" he asked after a beat, his gaze drifting towards the distant laughter of children. "My folks mention you, always have. That's me." "And you're Liam. The prodigal son returns to the land of humidity and home cooking." "Something like that." His smile flickered, a momentary dimming. "Just needed a break from the relentless city grind. Thought some time immersed in the familiar, some of Mom's culinary magic, might recalibrate things." A subtle weariness clung to his voice, an unexpected undertone beneath the polite surface, a fleeting glimpse of a weight that seemed to pull at the corners of his smile. It was unexpected, this brief unveiling of something deeper than polite holiday pleasantries. We talked easily after that, our conversation meandering through the familiar terrain of neighborhood gossip. Mrs. Henderson's prize-winning zucchini, The ongoing saga of the ridiculous new HOA regulations, his aloof cat holding court back in his Seattle apartment, my daughter Emily's latest baking catastrophe involving lavender and what she thought was sea salt but turned out to be bath salts. Beneath the surface of these trivialities, however, ran a strange, subtle current. Not flirtation, not in any conventional sense, more like recognition, the quiet acknowledgement of another human being, a sense of being seen, truly seen, in a way that felt both unfamiliar and not entirely unwelcome. He didn't look at me through the predictable lens of parent's neighbor, a middle-aged woman, marking time at a community gathering. His gaze held a different quality, a genuine curiosity, as if he were encountering me as an individual, interesting and engaging in my own right. And perhaps, imperceptibly, I looked at him differently too, not just as Carol's quiet boy who occasionally materialized for holidays, but as a thoughtful man with kind eyes and a quiet depth that hinted at unseen landscapes within. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and soft gold. Families began to gather their belongings, the joyful shrieks gradually fading as they dispersed into the twilight. Neither of us moved. "Sometimes I wonder what it's all for, you know?" he said, his gaze fixed on the darkening playground, the swings swaying gently in the cooling breeze. "You build these complex systems, these intricate lines of code, trying to create something efficient, elegant, but does it actually matter in the grand scheme?" It was a question that had echoed in the quiet chambers of my own mind, countless times, especially in the long, still hours since Richard was gone. What was the point of my neatly folded laundry, my meticulously weeded garden, each errant blade of grass banished with quiet determination, my perfectly balanced checkbook, a testament to a life carefully managed? I think, I said slowly, choosing my words with care, that finding meaning is less about the grand, sweeping gestures and more about the small, intricate connections. The code you write, Liam, connects people, helps them communicate across vast distances, allows them to learn, perhaps even just offers a momentary escape from the mundane. That has its own significance. That matters. He turned his head, his green eyes, the color of sea glass, searching mine in the soft, fading light. "You really think so?" "I do. Just like this conversation. It's not reshaping the geopolitical landscape, but perhaps it's making this small corner of the world, just for these moments, feel a little less lonely for both of us." That, too, holds its own quiet importance. A slow smile spread across his face, a genuine warmth that finally reached his eyes, crinkling the corners. "Yeah," he breathed out, the sound barely audible. "Yeah, I guess it does." We sat, there as the first hesitant stars pricked the darkening canvas of the night sky, wrapped in a silence that felt charged with an unspoken understanding, a quiet resonance. It felt like stumbling upon an unexpected harbor, a sheltered cove in a storm I hadn't even fully registered I was weathering. The days that followed unfolded with a subtly different texture. I'd catch glimpses of Liam walking his parents' ancient golden retriever, its gait as slow and deliberate as its years, or see him hunched over his laptop on their porch swing, bathed in the warm glow of the afternoon sun. We'd exchange casual waves across the manicured lawns, brief, inconsequential words exchanged over the low fence about the relentless humidity or the neighbor's perpetually overflowing recycling bin. Yet, each small interaction carried a weight, a quiet significance, like another delicate brushstroke on a canvas I hadn't consciously realized I was painting. One sweltering afternoon, I found myself wrestling with an unwieldy bag of mulch, my back protesting with each awkward lurch when Liam jogged across the emerald expanse of his parents' lawn. "Need a hand with that, Sarah?" he asked, his long arms already reaching for the heavy bag, his movements surprisingly fluid. "Oh, Liam, thank you," I puffed, my breath catching in my throat. "This stuff weighs a ton. My gardening enthusiasm often outweighs my actual strength." He carried it to my struggling rose bushes with an effortless grace that belied its weight. "Looks like you're putting in some serious work here." "They're beautiful. Trying to," I sighed, wiping a bead of sweat from my forehead with the back of my gardening glove. "These roses are needier than my kids were as toddlers. At least the toddlers eventually learned to feed themselves." He laughed, the sound light and genuine, then hesitated, looking down at his own hands, flexing his long fingers. Actually, I was wondering. I'm trying to troubleshoot this really weird, persistent bug in a personal project I'm working on. Honestly, sometimes just articulating the problem out loud helps me see it from a different angle. My parents' eyes tend to glaze over approximately 30 seconds into any discussion involving code. Would you mind just listening for a bit? No technical expertise required, I promise. I was touched by his unexpected vulnerability, the quiet earnestness of his request. I know absolutely nothing about code, Liam, I warned him, a warm smile spreading across my face. My technological prowess peaked somewhere around mastering the VCR, but I'm a very good listener. Pull up some lawn. He grabbed a lightweight aluminum chair from my porch, placing it carefully on the lawn beside my gardening tools. He then proceeded to explain his intricate coding dilemma, patiently using analogies involving unruly kitchen appliances and temperamental recipes that even I, a technologically challenged widow, could vaguely grasp. I listened intently, occasionally, interjecting with a clarifying question, my focus solely on his words, his frustration, the subtle shifts in his expression as he wrestled with the unseen logic of his digital world. After perhaps 20 minutes, he suddenly stopped mid-sentence, his fingers flying across the imaginary keyboard in his lap, a look of intense concentration etched on his face. Then, he leaned back with a sudden exhalation of relief. Wait a second. I think, yes, that's it? A wide, unrestrained grin broke across his face, illuminating it from within. Sarah, you're a genius. I laughed, the sound genuinely amused. Hardly. I just asked if the stubborn semicolon was perhaps in the wrong place. No, but you listened, he insisted, his eyes bright with a newfound clarity. Really listened. Nobody does that anymore. Everyone's just waiting for their turn to talk, their thumbs itching to check their phones. You just absorbed it. He shook his head, a small smile lingering. Thank you. Seriously. Any time, I said sincerely, the warmth of the connection radiating through me. Though I can't promise I'll have any useful input next time your digital creations decide to misbehave. Just listening is useful, he repeated softly, his gaze holding mine for a moment longer than strictly necessary. We sat there longer, the earlier ease deepening into something more substantial, bonded by this unexpected shared moment. He asked about my life before Richard, about my career as a library archivist, a chapter of my life I rarely revisited anymore. The memories tucked away like fragile documents. His interest seemed genuine, his questions thoughtful, prompting forgotten details to resurface. I found myself opening up, sharing anecdotes from years ago, the quiet satisfaction of preserving fragile historical documents, the hushed reverence of research rooms, the thrill of uncovering a forgotten piece of the past. It felt good to dust off those memories, to see that part of myself reflected in someone else's interested gaze. A few evenings later, Carol called, her voice warm and inviting, extending an invitation to a small, impromptu family barbecue before Liam's impending departure back to Seattle. I accepted without hesitation, surprising myself with the quiet anticipation that bloomed within me at the prospect of spending another evening in his company. It was a relaxed affair, just the four of us on their familiar back deck, bathed in the soft glow of string lights. Tom, Carol's jovial husband, presided over the sizzling grill, expertly flipping burgers with a practiced hand. Carol fussed over an array of colorful side dishes, her maternal energy a comforting presence. Liam seemed more at ease than I'd ever witnessed, laughing freely at his father's predictably terrible jokes, a genuine lightness in his demeanor. As twilight deepened, painting the sky in shades of apricot and lavender, Tom and Carol retreated inside, leaving Liam and me alone amidst the flickering glow of the tiki torches, the air thick with the heady, intoxicating scent of Carol's beloved night-blooming jasmine. You know, Liam said, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between us, his voice low and thoughtful. That conversation we had under your oak tree. I nodded, my gaze following the erratic dance of fireflies beginning to blink into existence in the darkening yard. It meant a lot, he continued, his expression serious in the soft light. It's been a weird couple of years for me. Work, life, everything felt kind of hollow. Coming back here, I didn't expect much beyond a dose of nostalgia and Mom's reliably good cooking. He paused, swirling the ice in his glass, the clinking a small counterpoint to the chirping crickets. But talking with you, it's different. You don't try to fix things or offer those easy, well-meaning platitudes that never quite land. You just listen, and you see things. I turned to look at him fully. His profile was sharply etched against the soft glow emanating from the house, his expression vulnerable, unguarded. Maybe it's because I'm at a point in my life where I appreciate genuine connection more than easy answers, I said softly, the words feeling true as they left my lips. Life has a way of sanding down those pat phrases, showing you how quickly they wear thin. He met my gaze, his green eyes seeming impossibly deep in the flickering torchlight, searching mine with an intensity that made my heart flutter in an unfamiliar rhythm. You make things feel less hollow. The air between us thickened, charged with an unspoken emotion that hummed beneath the surface of the quiet conversation. It wasn't uncomfortable, but potent, the culmination of shared glances, quiet conversations, unexpected moments of profound understanding. There was a magnetic pull, a quiet recognition of a shared loneliness perhaps, or simply a profound, unexpected empathy that transcended the boundaries of age and circumstance. He leaned forward almost imperceptibly, his hand resting on the wooden armrest between our chairs. I could feel the subtle warmth radiating from him, a silent current in the cool night air. My heart beat a little faster, a forgotten rhythm stirring within my chest. This was uncharted territory, a landscape I hadn't anticipated navigating. He was my neighbor's son. I was old enough to be, well, significantly older, yet the connection felt undeniably real, untainted by those external labels, existing purely in the charged space between us under the fragrant canopy of jasmine. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. He didn't move closer, didn't break. The intense gaze that held me captive. His eyes held a question, a flicker of something uncertain, but also a deep, palpable respect. It wasn't predatory, it was open, vulnerable, almost reverent. In that moment, bathed in the soft glow of the tiki torches and the silent symphony of the night, I felt seen, not as a widow navigating her solitary existence, not as Carol's neighbor, not as simply an older woman filling the quiet hours, but as me, Sarah, a person with her own rich history, her own quiet strength forged in the crucible of life, her own enduring capacity for connection. Very slowly, hesitantly, his fingertips brushed against the back of my hand, resting lightly on the worn skin. Not quite a caress, more like a point of contact, a delicate bridge between two worlds, electric and grounding all at once. A faint spark, subtle but undeniably present, jumped between us. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't pull away. I couldn't. His touch lingered for just a heartbeat, a silent acknowledgement of the unexpected energy that pulsed between us. Then, just as slowly, he withdrew, his gaze dropping briefly before meeting mine again, a faint, almost melancholic smile touching his lips. "My flight's on Saturday," he said softly, the simple words hanging in the warm night air, a gentle but firm intrusion of reality. This unexpected connection, so intense and surprising, existed within the finite framework of our separate lives. He belonged to a different generation, his path stretching out before him with limitless possibilities, while mine felt more settled, quieter, the contours already largely defined. He lived across the country, a vast geographical distance separating our daily realities. "I know," I replied, my voice equally quiet, the unspoken understanding heavy in the air. There was no need for more words. The moment itself, that brief, electric touch, the shared, searching look, was the climax. An emotional peak defined by its restraint, its unspoken depth, its mutual respect for the boundaries of our lives. It wasn't about pursuing something impossible or inappropriate. It was about acknowledging the profound beauty of a connection found in the most unexpected of circumstances, a shared secret held in the silent language of touch and gaze on a warm summer night. Liam left 2 days later. We said goodbye in his parents' driveway, the morning sun casting long shadows. A simple handshake, a shared look that held the weight of our unspoken moments, the quiet understanding that transcended the need for elaborate farewells. "Thank you, Sarah," he said, his voice low and sincere, "for everything. Safe travels, Liam," I replied, my own voice surprisingly steady. "Don't be a stranger to your folks." As his car disappeared down the quiet suburban street, a silver glint in the morning light, I didn't feel the sharp pang of sadness I might have anticipated. Instead, a quiet sense of richness settled within me. The house, as I stepped back inside, didn't feel quite so empty, the silence less oppressive. The steady ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall no longer sounded quite so lonely, its rhythm now accompanied by a faint echo of connection. That, unexpected,